Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Brazil to attend the 19th G20 Leaders Summit at Rio de Janeiro. World turns to G20 for progress on climate talks. US President Joe Biden allows Ukraine to use US-supplied long-range missiles for strikes inside Russia. Kremlin says Biden administration is escalating the Ukraine conflict. And at least 8 killed as super typhoon struck Philippines, the 6th tropical cyclone to hit the archipelago in a month. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Brazil's Rio de Janeiro to attend the G20 Summit being held from November 18th to 19th. Prime Minister Modi was deeply touched after receiving the warmest welcome at the Hotel National in Rio de Janeiro. As Prime Minister stepped off the plane and made his way through the hotel, he was greeted by an outpouring of love and affection from many members of the Indian community. They had gathered to show their pride and admiration for the leader of their homeland. On social media platform X, Prime Minister Narendra Modi wrote, and I quote him, "Landed in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil to take part in the G20 Summit. I look forward to the summit deliberations and fruitful talks with various world leaders." Unquote. And now let's take a quick look at Prime Minister Modi's itinerary for the day. Prime Minister Modi will attend the launch of Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty to be held at the Museum of Modern Art. Prime Minister is scheduled to attend the first session of the G20 on fight against hunger and poverty thereafter. After concluding the first session, Prime Minister Modi will also attend the second session on reform of the institutions of global governance. Prime Minister will also attend a side event on digital public infrastructure, and then he will meet various leaders on the sidelines of the G20 summit. With Vedic chants, soulful singing of children from the Indian community, traditional dance and performances, and members of the Indian diaspora from various business and professions in Brazil welcomed Prime Minister Narendra Modi as he visited the country for the 19th G20 Leaders Summit in Rio de Janeiro. DD India's Gautam Roy spoke to them about their experiences of meeting the Prime Minister and how they have been contributing to relations between India and Brazil.
Very emotional for us. It's very meaningful to express our gratitude in the form of these mantras. We have been studying here in Brazil for so many years. I'm studying for 20 years, each one of us at least 8-10 years. And be able to show our respect and our gratitude is very important for us.
I think this visit of Modi ji, it was when he shook hands with all of us, it was mesmerizing. I think the feeling which you get, the goosebumps which you get inside is amazing. He has an electrifying aura, I think, and a personality. Probably looks much more younger what he looks on the TV, So at his age, 74, I only wish that Modi ji continues, running our country, making us all proud, and we continue being, growing under his leadership.
We are here experiencing, like I said, goosebumps. We are meeting for the first time to him, and it was like a heavenly feeling, seeing him here in person and feeling him as a persona, the energy was so great here with our Indian community and welcoming him into.
He was very, very, very happy, and for us it's a big present for being a performer. So I would really thank that he patiently watched our complete perform.
It's very, very special for us. Yeah, we are so happy, very happy.
Yes, but it's very easy and very excited.
And did he say something to you?
He said very good beta. Like, it was very special for so many days. It took a long time to meet him. It was our first time to meet.
So Brazil is hosting the two-day G20 summit beginning today. From the fight against hunger and poverty, energy transitions, climate finance, solving the global conflicts, Rio de Janeiro has a lot to deliver. Here's a detailed look at what can we expect from this year's G20 summit under Brazil's presidency.
The G20 grouping is made up of 19 countries and 2 regional bodies, European Union and African Union. The G20 summit this year is special because African Union is attending the summit as a member. Apart from the G20 member countries, Brazil has also invited 18 guest countries, 5 each from America, Latin America and Asia, and 3 countries from Europe. There are also 15 international organizations that will be attending the summit. India is set to emerge the fastest growing economy in the G20 nations. India has been a key growth engine for the world, contributing 16% to the global growth in 2023. India holds the balance between global north and south as a connecting bridge and has used the G20 to foster cooperation between developed and emerging economies. India has also led some of the key initiatives including Global Biofuel Alliance and inclusion of African Union into the group that have had a major impact on G20. During its presidency in 2023, India advocated for a more inclusive global economic order, pushing for reforms in multilateral institutions. India placed a strong emphasis on addressing climate change and highlighted the global south should not bear the disproportionate costs of climate action. India advocated the equitable access to digital technologies as a key enabler for the development of the global south and highlighted the need for a digital public infrastructure. India pushed for better global health cooperation, particularly in the wake of pandemic. A task force for global alliance against hunger and poverty has been proposed by Brazil's G20 presidency. The aim of this task force is to focus on establishing a global alliance to raise resources and knowledge for reducing hunger and poverty around the world. Adherence to the Global Alliance will open not only to G20 members but to all interested countries. The Task Force for Global Mobilization Against Climate Change aims to promote a high-level dialogue to implement goals of United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change and the Paris Agreement. G20 Social, a place where civil society can participate and contribute to discussions and policy formulation referring to the summit. Discussions on China's President Xi Jinping being a key player at the G20 summit as US President-elect Donald Trump unleashed a trade and tech conflict with China during his first term.
So the G20 meet is happening at the same time as the COP29 climate summit in Azerbaijan. In view of this, the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called on G20 members to use their power of leverage to tackle key global issues such as that of climate change and peace in Gaza, Ukraine and Sudan. Speaking from Rio de Janeiro on Sunday, he stressed the urgency of climate action, warning of catastrophic consequences if major economies fail to act.
And I have come to Rio with a simple message. G20 leaders must lead. And G20 countries, by definition, have tremendous economic clout and they yield massive diplomatic leverage. They must use it to tackle key global problems.
The spotlight is naturally on the G20 countries as they account for 80% of global emissions. So this year's UN Climate Conference is being labelled as the Finance COP, with delegates expected to finalise the financial contributions that wealthier nations will provide to support developing countries. Sources say the 20 major economies have reached a fragile consensus on climate finance, but an announcement is still awaited with just 4 more days to go. Meanwhile, conflicts in Gaza and Ukraine and return of Donald Trump at the helm of US politics also made path forward for heads of states complicated. Trump's campaign promised once again to withdraw the US, which is the largest historical emitter of greenhouse gases and a major oil and gas producer, from the 2015 Paris Agreement. Experts believe developed countries, multilateral banks and the private sector must contribute at least $1 trillion to developing nations. You're with us on DD India Live, still to come on the show. Sri Lanka newly appointed 21-member cabinet takes oath with Dr. Harini Amarasuraya continuing as the Prime Minister. Supreme Court of India wraps the Delhi government over pollution and the delay in implementing the GRAP 4 measures in the national capital. And India is expected to be the second biggest draw for global investments in Trump's 2.0.
complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I am Tanvi Taneja. The US and its allies had been working to ensure that Ukraine has what it needs through the end of 2025 as a way to Trump-proof US security aid. Making a significant policy shift before the transfer of power, the US has allowed Ukraine to use the long-range missiles provided by it to use inside Russia, while Russia has responded saying Biden is throwing oil on fire, although Vladimir Putin himself is yet to comment. DD India's Kajal reports.
The United States President Joe Biden's administration for the first time has authorized Ukraine to use US-supplied ATACMS long-range missiles to strike inside Russia. The decision, made with 2 months left in Biden's term, allows Ukraine to target Russian forces in the Kursk region. The move comes in response to North Korea's decision to send thousands of troops to Russia. While European Union has also advocated the use of arms by Ukraine.
I've been saying once and again that Ukraine should be able to use the arm we provided to them in order to not only to stop the arrow, but also to be able to hit the Arcas. I continue believing this is what has to be done. I'm sure it will be discussed once again.
Reacting to the reports, Ukraine's President Zelensky has said that such things are not announced. Missiles speak for themselves, as he has been pushing for the removal of restrictions, seeking permission to strike beyond Ukraine's borders.
Today there's a lot of talk in the media about us receiving permission for respective actions, but strikes are not carried out with words. Such things are not announced. Missiles will speak for themselves.
The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has meanwhile said that a permanent escalation must be avoided in Ukraine.
And progress on poverty and hunger.
Firstly, our position has been very clear regarding the needs to avoid a permanent escalation of the Ukraine war. We want peace, but we want peace with justice, in line with the resolutions of the General Assembly, with the Charter of the United Nations, and with international law.
On Sunday, Russia launched its largest airstrike on Ukraine in months, targeting energy infrastructure across the country. The strike left 11 people dead and over 80 injured in the northeastern city of Sumy. In response, Ukraine announced a nationwide emergency power restriction starting Monday. Kajal's report for DD India.
US President-elect Donald Trump continues to nominate allies for his new White House team. Trump tapped Republican Brendan Carr as the chairman of the Federal Communications Commission. Trump, in a statement on Sunday, called Carr a warrior for free speech. Carr first joined the FCC in 2012. In 2017, during his first term as president, Trump appointed him as one of the agency's commissioners. Carr had previously worked as a lawyer specializing in regulatory issues. As the US President-elect Donald Trump is putting his administration together, the world is wondering how American policy will change on many topics, including that of trade. Among those worrying are politicians in the EU and the UK. Lars Holter is with Deutsche Welle and joins me from Berlin now on the story. Lars, what is the latest you've been hearing out of Washington?
Thanks for having me. So we got word from a senior economic advisor to US President-elect Donald Trump. His name is Stephen Moore. He's a conservative connected to the Club of Growth and the Heritage Foundation, two very right-leaning think tanks. Now, Stephen Moore said over the weekend that the UK should align itself with the United States on trade rather than pursue closer ties with the European Union. And that is just as the chief of the Bank of England had said over the weekend that the UK should try to improve its trade relations with the bloc, actually. So UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is facing competing demands over future trade deals with Washington and Brussels. In recent weeks, some have told the Prime Minister to pick a side between the US and the EU, while others have suggested he should strike deals with both major players.
Okay, thank you, Lars. Lars Walter reporting from DW Berlin. Sri Lanka's newly appointed cabinet of ministers was sworn in today before President Anura Kumara Dissanayake at the Presidential Secretariat in Colombo. The 21-member cabinet comprises a blend of seasoned politicians and fresh talent, aiming to address the nation's pressing issues and chart a path towards sustainable development. Dr. Harini Ummarasuraya continues as the Prime Minister, and she will also oversee the Ministry of Education, Higher Education and Vocational Education. Her dual role highlights the administration's emphasis on reforming education and enhancing vocational training opportunities to empower the workforce. Vijita Herath continues as the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Foreign Employment and Tourism. Other key appointments include Bimal Ratnayake, who has been assigned the portfolio of Transport, Highways and Civil Aviation, while Dr. Nalinda Jayasitha has been given the charge of Health and Media. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar congratulated his Sri Lankan counterpart Vijita Herath on his reappointment. Jaishankar said he looks forward to working together to further strengthen our historic bonds of friendship and deepen our wide-ranging partnership for mutual benefit. Next news from Bangladesh. The International Crimes Tribunal, Bangladesh, has ordered to submit reports within 1 month in 2 cases filed against former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and 45 others for crimes against humanity on charge of alleged genocide during the anti-discrimination student movement. The 3-member tribunal, led by Justice Muhammad Ghulam Murtaza Majumdar, passed the order and said that the tribunal's chief prosecutor, Advocate Muhammad Tajul Islam, besides, the tribunal ordered the investigation agency to update it about the absconding accused and set December 17th for holding a hearing over the matter. The tribunal was constituted under the International Crimes Tribunal Act 1973 of Bangladesh to provide for the detention, prosecution and punishment of people responsible for committing genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes and other crimes under international law. At least 8 people have died on Monday after Super Typhoon Mangkhut hit the Philippines. Fierce winds and strong rains have triggered landslides and caused severe flooding in the region. The infrastructural damage by the typhoon includes uprooted trees. It downed power lines and crushed wooden houses. More than 1 million people have been evacuated since warnings were first issued. Mangkhut is the 6th typhoon to hit the Philippine archipelago in a month. India's national capital and the national capital region continue to reel under severe air quality, breaching the severe plus level with an average air quality index of 483 on Monday. Shallow to moderate fog was observed during the early morning hours today in different parts of the national capital. The India Meteorological Department has forecast that Delhi NCR is likely to experience smog and shallow fog during the night and morning hours over the next 2 days. The Supreme Court of India today strongly reprimanded the Delhi government and the Central Commission CAQM for the delay in implementing the Graded Response Action Plan or GRAP in the national capital. The top court pointed out that there was a delay in the implementation of preventive measures under stage 4 of the GRAP even after AQI touched alarming levels in the national capital. It ordered that the GRAP stage 4 restrictions will remain in place until further instructions from the court, even if the AQI goes below 400. The central and state governments were directed to file compliance affidavits by Thursday, November 21st, while the next hearing on the matter will take place on November 22nd. The Commission for Air Quality Management has imposed GRAP 4, the highest set of anti-pollution restrictions in the Delhi National Capital Region starting 8 in the morning on Monday. With the imposition of GRAP 4, physical classes in schools shall be discontinued for students in Delhi NCR. Apart from class 10th and 12th, all schools will hold online classes until further orders. The President of India, Draupadi Murmu, accepted credentials from the ambassadors and high commissioners of 6 countries, including Switzerland, Jordan, Papua New Guinea, South Africa, Myanmar and Egypt at a ceremony held at the Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi on Monday. A stall of the Central Board of Direct Taxes, India's tax authority, was inaugurated at the India International Trade Fair on Monday as part of an awareness campaign. At the stall, the chief of the authority, Ravi Agrawal, also launched 6 magazines aimed at raising awareness about the department's initiatives and tax-related matters. The exhibition featured activities aimed at engaging taxpayers and explaining the importance of income tax in the country's development. India is projected to be the fastest growing economy among the G20 countries, with a 7% GDP growth rate expected for 2024. According to a post on X by MyGov, citing the World Economic Outlook for October, India is followed by Indonesia in second place with a 5% growth rate, while China ranks third with a growth rate of 4.8%. India's time-tested partner Russia is ranked 4th with a projected GDP growth rate of 3.6%, followed by the G20 Summit host Brazil in the 5th place. Meanwhile, India is emerging as a major hub for global investments, poised to become the second largest destination after the United States during President Donald Trump's second term. India is set to attract significant global investments, according to Vishwas Raghavan, Executive Vice Chair of Citigroup, one of the world's leading investment banks. Raghavan predicts that India will rank just behind the US as the most favoured destination for global capital during Trump's new term. With over $3 trillion in investor funds waiting to be deployed, the competition for capital is intensifying. The Citigroup banker notes that investors will be selective, with public and private markets diverging based on expected returns. So that's all for this edition of DD India Live. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can catch all the latest news and updates from India and the world on our DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. We'll be back with more news as it breaks around DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.